Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The NFL Show is brought to you by BetNow.eu. Use the promo code TRUTH100 to get a cashback bonus on your first deposit. I am your host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host from the FF Face-Off, the best fantasy football show podcast there is, Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing good, Mike. How are you?
All right. Tonight, your Dallas Cowboys will battle the Chicago Bears in the Week 14 installment of Thursday Night Football. We got Khalil Mack and the Bears defense against Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, and the Dallas Cowboys. And I would say these two teams have vastly underachieved compared to what people thought they would do this year.
Yeah, and this should really be a game that Dallas should win tonight. They're more talented. The Bears defense isn't close to what it was last year, especially defending the run. So it's really set up to be a big game for Ezekiel Elliott. And if there's any coach that's worse than Jason Garrett in game, it's probably Nagy.
This will be the third consecutive week in which the Cowboys have faced their top-ranked offense faces a daunting defense. And in the previous two games, Dallas combined for 24 points and 2 defeats. What would make this differently? Because you still got a really good defense, and just like the other two opponents, the offenses weren't that great. The Cowboys still lost. What do you think gets the Cowboys over the top here?
I wouldn't say that Buffalo's offense. I think the Bills' offense is very, very underrated. I think the difference in this game is going to be Ezekiel Elliott.
All right. What makes you think that he's going to break out tonight? I know the Bears aren't great against the run, but
well, that's the thing. That's how teams have gotten to the Bears this year, is by running the ball and opening things up for the quarterback. But if they can't get the running game going, then I think it's going to be a long day for Dallas. But Zeke has looked good in the past couple of games. Outside of that Minnesota game, they have been able to establish the run.
Yep, but you're going to have to be able to throw the ball with it. So can they protect Dak Prescott tonight?
They're a little bit banged up on the offensive line, but I think they should be able to protect him. I mean, Khalil Mack, it seems like a shell of himself last season, from last season.
Yeah, and I think this game is going to come down to the Bears' offense. And if Mitchell Trubisky can get anything going, and I think you can run the ball on Dallas, but the Bears' running game has not been great this year.
No, and, on the Bears offense, it really should come down to, whether or not David Montgomery is going to show up. He came into the year with a lot of hype as the rookie running back. They thought that he was going to be night and day better than Jordan Howard, and they certainly took a step back running the football in Chicago.
Yeah, and I think the key to this Bears offense may be Allen Robinson, who's had a relatively quiet big season.
Yeah, Robinson's season is getting overlooked because of all the other issues on the Bears offense, but he has been one of the positives. And also Anthony Miller, in the past 3 games, he's had 33 targets. He's playing his best football all season long, and I think Miller's going to have a big game out of the slot if the Bears are going to have a chance in this game.
So I don't see how the Bears could win this game other than the fact that the Dallas Cowboys have a tendency to lose games like this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a must-win for the Dallas Cowboys, and they are actually playing for something. The Bears, they might still be in the mix for a wild card, but it's a long shot. On the Dallas end, they're still, the division's right there for them. And it's not like Philly is competitive in their games. They're dropping a lot of games. They don't look like they have the same will that they've had in past seasons to turn it around. So it's like, who wants it more? Dallas needs to show up tonight.
So who wins tonight?
I think Dallas is going to take the game. I think Dallas, if they don't get it tonight, I think the season's done.
The season's not done because they could lose out and still make the playoffs.
Right, but they need to win. They need to win convincingly. They need to win on all three phases of the game and get some confidence. Otherwise, the playoff berth is going to be for nothing.
Well, it's headed that way anyways in the NFC because if you look at it, the Bears would be tied for first right now if they would just switch divisions and be in the NFC East.
That's sad.
It is. And when you look at the Eagles, I don't know that they can be. I don't know that the Eagles are going to beat the Giants this week, but you got to assume they can. So this is definitely a must-win for the Cowboys. I'm going to pick the Bears to win this game for no reason other than the Cowboys are the Cowboys, and when they should win, they don't.
Yeah, I think Dallas. I think they're on the road. I think they're going to take the game.
You picked them the
They
last
need
2
to.
weeks,
They
too.
need to. Well, I don't know if I not pick against them. It's hard to pick against them because they do have one of the top rosters in the league.
Yeah, I don't think so. If they did, they would be doing much better.
With Jason Garrett?
It doesn't matter because I don't know. I just, like I said before, I don't see big-time wide receivers. I know you love your Amari Cooper, and sometimes he looks really good, but when they play against better competition, he tends to not really do a whole hell of a lot, does he?
Well, the issue with Cooper, and I think PFF does have him as a top-ranked or at least a top-3 ranked wide receiver. The big issue with Amari Cooper are his home and away splits. He has 3 times the production at home than he does on the road. In fact, I think he only has like 17 catches on the road this season.
Yeah, and I don't read too much into what Pro Football Focus does, to tell you the truth. Because they rank a lot of stuff that makes no sense to me. And
Like what?
Well, I mean, just in the past, when they rate offensive linemen, and you got a guy like Bobby Hart, and they're supposed to be 5 tackles worse in the NFL, that's impossible. It really is. And to put Amari Cooper as one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL is really impossible. Because I can guarantee you this, I bet you could name 5 off the top of your head you'd rather have right now.
I don't know about that.
Really? So you'd rather have Amari Cooper than anybody?
Not than anybody, but I don't know if I can name 5 that I'd rather have over Amari Cooper right now. I mean, look at the wide receiver position. Is Julio Jones having a Julio Jones type of season? I mean, the dude hasn't scored since, I think, week 3.
Yeah, but I don't know in Atlanta that any of those problems are a direct correlation of Matt Ryan or Julio Jones. I think that's more of a correlation of a bad offensive line and a bad defense.
You know, what about, Devontae Adams? I know he was banged up, but Devontae's not having his type of a season. Even DeAndre Hopkins, in the first half, he was off to a really mediocre start. And, of course, he's turned it on in the second half. But, the receiver position has been a little weird this year. Well, where nobody's really sticking out, and maybe that's why Amari Cooper is ranked so high. Well, because the other guys we expect are either have been banged up or just, kind of underperforming.
Well, I mean, 4 off the top of my head would be Michael Thomas, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and DJ Moore.
I would give you Thomas and Godwin. There's an argument for the other 2. I don't think DJ Moore is there yet. And Mike Evans, I don't know. I guess I would put him there with Amari Cooper because they're both pretty inconsistent.
And I can tell you this, Julio Jones, you said, is having a bad year compared to what he normally does, but he's got the same amount of catches as Cooper for almost the exact same amount of yards.
Right.
So, Jarvis Landry would be a guy I would take over him.
Come on.
I would. Julian Edelman, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen. So, I'd put him right around number 10. Tyler Lockett. His name's pop into my head.
I mean, I think you're showing your Cowboys bias here a little bit.
I don't have a Cowboys bias. You do.
You're anti-Cowboys bias.
I don't have an anti-Cowboys bias.
A little bit.
No, not at all. I'm fair and impartial. The San Francisco 49ers have suspended their radio color analyst Tim Ryan over comments made on a radio show about Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson and his dark skin color. Ryan's comments came during a weekly appearance on KNBR's Murph and Mack radio show as he was discussing Jackson's performance in Week 13 over the 49ers. This is what Ryan said. This is not what Mike or Anthony said. He's really good at that fake, Lamar Jackson, but when you consider his dark skin color with a dark football, with a dark uniform, you couldn't see that thing, Ryan said of Jackson's success running his own read attack. Per the San Francisco Chronicle, I mean, you literally could not see when he was in and out of the mesh point. And if you're a half step slow on him in terms of your vision, forget about it. He's out at the gate. Now, the 49ers, in a statement, they have suspended him. They extended apologies, and they said they are disappointed in Tim Ryan's comments earlier this week and have suspended him for the upcoming game. What's your take on this? Because actually, I think that's a really stupid comment, whether it's racist or not.
It's not a good comment, especially not, in 2019. I don't know. Maybe you get away with it, 15, 20 years ago, but certainly not now. It's not as offensive to, as it could have been. But it was just dumb. Didn't need to be said.
Yeah. And you just wonder when people are going to learn to shut up.
Like, I don't know if he meant it that way. I don't know if he himself thought it was going to go over like this. But I think the 49ers, they did the right thing and got out in front of this.
Yeah. Do you think he was just trying to make a joke? Or do you think he was serious? I mean, because there's a lot of quarterbacks.
I honestly think that he is serious.
Yeah, there's a lot of black quarterbacks that don't play action fake very well, though.
I think he was serious. I just don't think he thought that it was that bad.
Well, I can tell you this. As a Bengals fan, Akili Smith was black, and it did not help his playmaking ability or play-faking ability at all. I just wanted to bring that up. The Kansas City Chiefs backfield will be without their hammer the rest of the way. The team announced running back Darrell Williams has been placed on IR after suffering a hamstring injury in last week's win over the Oakland Raiders. This is another shot, and you got to wonder how many of these the Chiefs can sustain and continue to play at a high level.
Well, Darrell Williams, he's essentially their number 3 running back. Their number 1 is Damian Williams, and he's actually nursing a ribs injury and hasn't been on a practice field or a game since the Mexico City game.
Yeah, that's kind of my point here, though.
Now,
it's not that they lose their number 3, but they've already lost 1, and LaShawn McCoy is old.
Yeah, and they're actually managing McCoy's reps. But they also have a kid named Darwin Thompson who played really well in the preseason and who is expected to, step in while Damian Williams is out.
Well, they re-signed Spencer Ware also.
I think if Ware had much left, he would either be with the team currently, this year and not necessarily being signed off the streets. Ware is kind of like that Ajayi to the Eagles move to where there's familiarity with the playbook.
Yeah.
He's an insurance policy. Maybe he gets a couple of, snaps in the game, but I'm not expecting much out of it. It's almost like if Kansas City brought back Charkandrick West, who's on his couch right now, just like Spencer Ware was until yesterday.
All right, the Jacksonville Jaguars placed linebacker Miles Jack on injured reserve with a knee injury. The team announced on Thursday. He finished the season with 66 tackles. The New York Jets running back Le'Veon Bell won't practice due to an illness, Coach Adam Gase told reporters. Safety Jamal Adams and cornerback Brian Poole also will miss practice. And the Jets also missed playing a game last week, too.
That's a joke, right?
No, it wasn't, because if you lose to the Cincinnati Bengals 26-6, you didn't play in a game. And I just, is Adam Gase safe here? Are the Jets that
Yes,
incompetent in their
I
front office?
believe that he is safe. Really, I mean, they won a couple of games in a row. Darnold looked good. I just think they need pieces. I'm not sure Le'Veon Bell is going to remain with the team. I think that was a disaster, and I think it was a disaster ever since Adam Gase made those comments. Hey, and I'm paraphrasing when I didn't want him. I didn't want to pay him that. You don't pay a running back. Whatever he said in the offseason, that was it for that relationship. They tried moving him at the trade deadline, so I think Le'Veon Bell's going to be gone, so they're going to need a running back. They need to improve the offensive line, and C.J. Mosley, one of their top defensive acquisitions, barely played, if at all, this season. And
You there?
okay.
Okay.
I think they have talent. I just think that the Jets are have that black cloud. I mean, who gets mono?
I don't know. A lot of people do.
Right, but in the NFL.
Yeah, I know. And in New York, it seems to, kind of extend to the Giants nowadays. Quarterback Daniel Jones not practicing for a second consecutive day. My question is this. A high ankle sprain is a pretty serious injury. I thought it was just an ankle sprain when we talked about it yesterday. But being a high ankle sprain, is there a reason to even play him again the rest of this year?
Maybe just to get him as many reps as possible.
Yeah, but he's not going to be 100% healthy probably. I mean, a high ankle sprain.
What do we have, 4 games left?
A high ankle sprain, though, is usually 3 to 6 weeks, at least.
I mean, can Eli be any worse?
Nobody could be any worse. Daniel Jones turns the ball over at a rate that would astound Jameis Winston. Because Jameis is like every other game with 4 turnovers. Daniel Jones seems to do it every game.
I think Eli, Jameis might do it, every couple of games, but when he does have that game, there's like 5.
Yeah, but
so he makes up for it. Daniel
Jones in good games 2 to 3. A bad game's 4 or 5. So.
This is at least okay. The Giants are obviously not going anywhere, and for Eli Manning, it'll be a nice send off in the next couple of weeks.
Well,
so if there's any consolation, at least Eli gets to play a few more games, and whatever the hell happens with him next year. But Daniel Jones will be the quarterback for the Giants in 2020.
Yeah, which is good for your Cowboys. You might be able to win the division at 7-9 next year, too. The Philadelphia Eagles, Coach Doug Peterson told reporters running back Jordan Howard, who's out with a shoulder injury, still has not been cleared for contact. Howard has missed the past 3 games for the Eagles, and I think this is the Eagles' biggest problem right now is not having Jordan Howard over the last 3 games because that takes a lot away from that offense.
I mean, I said this earlier. Look at the difference in the Chicago Bears when Jordan Howard, now that he's not there, and look at the difference in the Eagles now that he's missed the past 3 games. That offense can't set the tone that they need to set running the football. And sure, Miles Sanders can do a little bit more. He's a little bit more explosive. He can catch passes, but he doesn't run the way Jordan Howard runs. And Jordan Howard's not a sexy runner. He's not going to make the highlight reel, but he gets the job done, and he's dependable. And really, that's what you want.
All right, let's go a little more Dallas Cowboys news. As NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport reported Thursday that Antoine Woods has been dealing with an knee injury, is now dealing with more than a knee injury. He was arrested on Tuesday at a traffic stop and charged with possession of marijuana, over 2 ounces but less than 4 ounces, tampering with evidence, and cited for possession of paraphernalia, according to the Frisco Police Department. The arrest is the latest setback for Woods, who, of course, as we said, has struggled to stay healthy this year. How big a loss is this for the Cowboys?
I mean, it's a big loss, especially one with Leighton Vander Esch. He's missed the past couple of games, and I think the defense is night and day different without Leighton Vander Esch, especially when it comes to stopping the run. And now you lose your top or one of your top nose tackles or your interior defensive lineman. So this is going to be a big blow for Dallas.
Yeah, but it is funny that it's a Cowboy that got busted, huh? No? Okay.
Not shocking. I mean, it's the Cowboys.
We hit America's team. All right. Marlon Mack is trending in the right direction for a potential return this week, but kicker Adam Vinatieri might pose another problem. We know that the Colts signed another kicker the other day. It looks like Vinatieri may be out. The Colts are in need of a desperate win here. Is this maybe a good thing that he's out?
I guess, the kicker they signed, Chase McLaughlin, he's bounced around to a few teams who had kicker injuries throughout the 2019 season. The Colts are done. T.Y. Hilton does not know if he's going to play again this year. Devin Funchess is not going to be activated from injured reserve like they thought that he would. So they're playing with the skeleton crew at wide receiver. Marlon Mack's going to help. There's no Eric Ebron. So there's just so many injuries, and it's hard. Eventually, you can't overcome every injury.
All right. Detroit Lions running back Kerryon Johnson was back at practice, though. Little too late.
Me, yeah. Well, not only is it too little, too late, but when you got a guy like Kerryon Johnson, who's banged up, when you have Matthew Stafford, who has broken bones in his back, the fact that there's even a consideration to put them back on the field and not shut them down completely and get ready for 2020 just shows how incompetent Matt Patricia is.
Well, maybe it's not Matt Patricia's decision.
Whose decision is it?
Well, in Cincinnati or Dallas, we know it would be the owner's decision. And Detroit, if you want to talk about bad front offices, would be right up there with them. You never know.
I just think you got to, at some point, even with the Falcons and Julio Jones, shut them down. Get ready for next year. You're not going anywhere. I understand that. Maybe you want to put the best team together, so fans don't black out the game and they show up to the stadium. But at some point, especially more so with Stafford, you have broken bones in your back. There's no reason for him to step on a field again this year. No reason.
No, that would be absolutely stupid. But since we are talking about the Detroit Lions, I think anything is possible here. But you got anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
I think Dalvin Cook is going to be on the field this week. I know there was some question, but he's repeatedly told reporters that he's going to play. So that's good news for the Vikings, who really do need a win at this point.
Yeah, they definitely need a win, and they definitely need him in the lineup to get that win. Anything else?
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, that was a quick show today. That's good, because we needed a quick show today. Tomorrow we will be back to talk about the Cowboys losing once again. That'll be fun because it always is. And we will preview all of Sunday's games. Anthony, you want to tell everybody where they can find you on the FF Faceoff?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru. You can follow my show at the FF Faceoff. We can be found on all of the top social media and podcast platforms. And we will be going live today on Periscope, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, covering the early games on the Week 14 slate. And it's a fantasy playoff, so if you have a fantasy team and you need fantasy advice, ask us questions live on the show. We'll get to them.
Yeah, I'm a Bengals fan. The only way my team would make the playoffs would be in the fantasy playoffs. All right, guys, remember you can hear all the shows on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, Deezer, Podcast Addict, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So, for Anthony Cervino, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.